Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on the Dungeon Dive, we are taking a quick look at the Oracle Story Generator. This is a box set that comes with 5 different decks of cards that can help you generate stories, campaigns, and adventures for your RPGs. And of course, you can use this to create things for your solo RPGs. So this is released by Nord Games, LLC. And like I said, it comes with 5 decks of cards. So you will get a deck of cards for your for stories that will focus on contracts and bounties, a simple side quests, relics and artifacts, epic adventures, and political intrigue. Also included is an instruction manual along with some pre-generated stories. Now, I think way too much of this instruction manual is focused on the pre-generated stories, and I'm not quite sure why. It's a little weird to me that a tool being released focused on generating random stories would spend so much of its page count providing you with already generated stories. I would have rather had seen these pages in this book filled with other kinds of tables, other kinds of random generators that you could use in tandem with the decks of cards. But your rules are very simple. You have instructions on one side and you have your storyteller's guide. And that's pretty much it as far as the amount of the documentation focused on the decks of cards. The rest of the manual is a whole bunch of already created stories using these cards with adventure hooks, with sample NPCs that you could introduce, and a 3-act structure for each story. Yeah, I think just way too many pages in this book focused on stories that are already generated. These pages could have been filled with really cool randomizers or other tables that you could use with the decks, because the decks of cards are what make this tool kind of worthwhile and worth checking out. So each one of these decks is made up of 5 sub-decks, and let's take a look at them. We'll take a look at this simple side quests here. So each deck will have a sub-deck of actors, and those actors will be taking actions. So you will have a sub-deck of actions. Those actions will be acted upon a subject. So you have your sub-deck of subjects with an intent of what are they trying to do to that subject. And then finally, the further development of that plot. So those are your 5 sub-decks in each deck. And to generate a story, it's very easy. You simply draw 1 card from each deck in this order: actor, action, subject, intent, and development. So we have a scholar. Buried in books and dedicated to their studies, scholars are those who have committed their lives to learning, normally specializing in a specific field of expertise. So a scholar needs to destroy. The subject must be totally removed from existence by some means. The method might be up to the party or might be determined by the actor. Okay, so we have a scholar needs to destroy a poisonous swamp. Bogs, marshes, wetlands, and swamps that contain something deadly. This is on top of the already being difficult to navigate and potentially lethal terrain, with the intent of to prevent an event occurring. The actor, the scholar, needs to stop a certain incident from coming to pass in that swamp. Perhaps it is only important to them, or maybe the consequences affect an entire village or area, and the further development. But time is running out. The actor only has a limited amount of time to complete their action before some disastrous catastrophe related to the intent occurs. Okay, so we could say here that perhaps a scholar has learned about some kind of creature who is birthing, who is some kind of long dormant creature who is in this swamp, is coming to life. It is regenerating. And so the scholar learns that they need to destroy this poisonous swamp creature before it regenerates, wreaking havoc on a nearby village, and we only have a certain amount of time to do so. So that would be a little side quest that you could go on in your solo RPG. Now, if you wanted some further details, each one of these cards has a D4 chart that you can roll for some further details. So let's see our scholar here. 4, reluctant. Perhaps forced or coerced into the life of study, this person would much rather be doing something else, adventuring perhaps. Okay, so maybe this scholar has been studying this swamp at their high tower, their ivory their ivory wizard tower, but they want to break free of the walls. They want to break free of the books, and so they actually volunteer to come with the adventuring party, to come with your solo hero. And so maybe then you get a companion to come with you. Let's see a little bit of nuance in the action here. 4, disaster. The party must bring about some disaster. The party must bring about some disaster, like an earthquake, storm, plague, or pestilence that causes the destruction of the subject. Okay, so maybe the swamp has some kind of magical seal at the bottom, and it's almost like a bath plug, right? And so we need to dive deep into the murky, poisonous swamp waters of the swamp to perform some kind of underwater ritual to cause the swamp to drain. We need to drain the wetlands. And that's the only way to prevent the swamp creature from coming to life. And let's see here. Maybe we have another detail on the poisonous swamp here too. It also has noxious gases. Thick miasma bubbles up through the muck and corrupts the air. Those who inhale it turn undead, become possessed, or simply get sick. Okay, so we maybe need to add another step to this side quest, where we need to come up with some kind of magical or mundane method to prevent us from getting sick from the noxious gases. So maybe we need to, develop some kind of filtration system or find some kind of spell that will prevent us from getting sick. We have to prepare before we go into the poisonous swamp. 3, so to prevent this from happening is a disaster. A catastrophe, natural or otherwise, is on the verge of coming to pass. The action is part of a larger plan to prevent from doing so. So if that swamp creature comes to life, it will take that poisonous gas and spread it throughout the land, and we don't want that happening. So time is running out. So the subtable on time is how long do we have? 1. We have 1 month, so we have some time. So the scholar has spent his time learning about this, and we have some time. Some encroaching effect is slowly coming up on the actor. They need to undertake the task within 1 month. So that gives us some time to possibly research and develop a way to prevent the noxious gases from overcoming us. So that would be one little side quest, and I think that's pretty cool. So let's take a look now at the relics and artifacts deck. I like that one. That's a lot of fun. And then we have our relics and artifacts. So again, we have our actors, we have our actions, we have the subject on which we will take that action with the intent of, and a further development. So our actor here is a merchant. Traders and salespersons, merchants are typically wealthy individuals who make their money by buying cheap and selling high. The goods they handle could be common or exotic. A merchant will use. The actor has an item, the subject, and intends to use it as best they can. They might be using it for its original purpose or be trying to stretch its capabilities. A trick item. The item is not exactly as it appears. There is some deception within the item that potentially stymies the actor. Okay, so the merchant has some kind of trinket, some kind of relic that they want to use, but they don't actually know what it's going to do. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. To destroy. The actor wishes to entirely destroy someone or something, to completely wipe it from the face of the world. We've had that one before, something similar. Let's discard that and draw another one. For personal reasons. Some personal, emotional reasons is driving the actor to do what they intend. These feelings might stem from old conflicts or the result of recently inflicted turmoil. So maybe the merchant is trying to get revenge on somebody who duped them out of some money. And they have this exotic item, some kind of MacGuffin that they're going to use to get revenge, but they don't really know what that item is going to do, and it could backfire on them. But guardians prevent them from doing so. There are guardians standing between the actor and the subject, or those they would use to use the item on, which initially prevent them from undertaking their action. So the person that the merchant is trying to get revenge on maybe has some kind of supernatural protection against that item. And when the merchant uses it, it will backfire on them or something like that. Now let's dig a little deeper into the merchant here. 3, a commercial titan. With a vast array of stores across the entire realm, this merchant has amassed an enormous amount of wealth, which they have used to build an empire. So I would say that this merchant is probably one who trades in his respect, and he was disrespected by the subject. And so that's why he wants to get revenge. This merchant thinks highly of himself and his empire. 3, will use masterfully. The actor will use the item with unexpected mastery, unlocking new powers from it and gaining additional boons. Interesting, but it's a trick item. So I would say that the actor, the merchant, thinks this item is going to do exactly what he thinks it is because of his hubris, but it's going to backfire spectacularly. Maybe it's kind of like a monkey's paw style thing. And let's learn a little bit more about this trick item. 1, it's an illusion. The item is covered by an illusion that makes it appear as one thing when it is in fact another. Alternatively, the item is a total illusion and does not actually exist. So I would say that the item is actually disguised as some kind of thing that will help the merchant enact his revenge, but in reality, it is a demon waiting to pounce. It's a demon of greed waiting to pounce upon the boastful merchant, and it will completely destroy the merchant's empire. And for personal reasons, 3, there's anger. Yes, the actor is acting out of anger. We've already established that. And what are the guardians? Let's learn a little bit more about the guardians protecting the nobleman that the merchant wants to get revenge on. They are monsters. Hydras, sphinxes, or some other monsters serve as guardians. They are likely to be physically imposing or magically potent. I would say there's some kind of tomb guardians and protecting the mausoleum or protecting the undead or something like that. So that would be another way to generate a subquest there. So I think these decks are pretty cool. You can string together some interesting stories and then come up with all of the details that you would need. You could draw one at a time and then maybe just draw one to see what is going on. So a mercenary adventurer, and then that could be an NPC that you have to interact with. You could also end up, because each of the decks has a different back of cards, you could actually mix and match if you wanted to. Let's take a look at one more, something a little grander here. So we have these epic adventures. So this might be the basis of a full kind of solo campaign if you wanted to put something together that was a little more on the grand scale here. So let's separate our decks out. These are a little geared more towards your typical kind of high or epic fantasy, but I think they could also be used for something a little more intimate, a little more on the sword and sorcery scale, something a little smaller. But let's see what we have here. Epic adventures. We have a Harbinger of Doom. Unmistakable aspects of the coming darkness. Harbingers of Doom are beings who serve to bring about the apocalypse. Each can come in a panoply of forms. So we have death, inevitable death incarnate. This entity takes life from mortals as easy as snuffing out a candle. So this is a very huge, epic, kind of world-destroying quest that we might be on. How can we stop this specter of death from wreaking havoc on the land? Will bribe, influencing the actions of others by offering something in return that is hard to resist. Magic. Okay, interesting. The magic, the offer of a ritual or spell cast in their favor, a powerful mage item, or even tuition in a particular school of arcana. Okay, so these two cards combined would lead me to believe that something is approached by a specter of death, and they are trying to bribe death into teaching them maybe the secrets of immortality. And who is that? A terrible foe too. So this is a feared enemy whose power at least matches that of those who oppose them. So I'm going to say that some kind of tyrant has invoked the specter of death and is trying to bribe them to learn the secrets of immortality. So here in this epic adventure, we are setting up kind of a big bad. We're setting up our ultimate evil with a, let's see, I'm going to reroll that, a 1, a warlord. So this is some kind of warlord has summoned the specter of death to learn the secrets of immortality. Because of a curse, a magical enchantment of a dark nature compels the actor to act in a certain way, whether they like it or not. So the warlord, who is all-powerful, has been cursed. And so they are using the specter of death to learn that magical spell of the magical power of immortality. And if they do so, they will become way too powerful, and we need to put a stop to them before that happens, furthering the development. But they are protected by a legion, and they are also, I would say, they are also protected by a legion of constructs. So, so this is kind of like a mad scientist warlord type Frankenstein character here who has created an army of golems, and they want that power of life, of immortality to cast over their golems in order to rule the world. So that would be our epic adventure that we would set out on. And so, yeah, as you can see, you can come up with a lot of interesting stories, mixing and matching, rolling on those tables. And I think this is pretty cool. I've seen it on Amazon for about $40. And I think $40 is a pretty good price for this amount of cards. And you get a good amount of cards. You get 5 decks. Each deck has quite a few cards in it, quite a few different combinations. You get a few little rules and a whole bunch of pre-written stories. Again, I think these pages, this document would be a lot better if it just had more random generators in it instead of some stories. You know, I'm not buying this to have pre-written stories. I'm buying this to come up with random stories on the fly. So having more random generators in the document would be much more useful. But as it is, I'm glad I bought this. I paid retail for it, which was at the time I bought it, it was about $50. I think that's a little pricey, but like I said, $40 I think is a good price. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking this look at the Oracle Story Generator. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.